guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, I know I've been absent for quite a while, and if you follow me over on Instagram, then you will know why. So before I start this video, I just want to apologise. I've got lights, I've got builders outside, there's a lot of noise this way, and out the back our neighbour is having a garden done, so there's a lot of noise out both sides of the house, but I keep putting this video off. And the builders are here every day. We're living on a construction site, so I need to just do it. So if you do hear any noise, I do apologise, and I hope it doesn't put you off too much. I also just want to take a moment for the fact that I've got concealer and lip gloss on and a bit of mascara. Literally, I've not had a thing on my face for like 4 weeks, and it feels good. It feels really good. So there's absolutely loads to get through in this video, so I'm going to get straight into it. I have written some notes on my phone of what I want to talk about. You guys on Instagram have asked me so many questions. If you haven't figured already what this video is from the title, I'm going to be talking about my laparoscopy. No. Oh my god, I can't pronounce the word. Laparoscopy, endoscopy. Laparoscopy. I literally don't know how to pronounce the word. The nurses and doctors pronounce it differently to me, but anyway, that's beside the point. So I'm going to be talking all about my endometriosis and my recent surgery. Hopefully by the end of this video I will have answered every single question that you guys have asked me on Instagram. That is the aim. So just to give you a little bit of a backstory, if you're brand new here, you might have just come across this video because you're suffering with endometriosis, you've got your surgery booked in, or you're trying to get a diagnosis, then this might be relevant. I know a lot of you guys on Instagram did ask these questions. I answered some people I don't think I got round to. So I think we'll just do as much detail as we can, and it means that, you know, hopefully I'll answer every single question. I am currently post-surgery 3 weeks and a day. So yeah, 3 weeks ago I had my surgery. It was a Monday afternoon and I come out of recovery about 6 o'clock. Should we go into that later? Yeah, so I'm going to do it in chronological order. So my symptoms, a lot of people wanted to know what my symptoms were, the length of time it took to get diagnosed, and like just how long I was on the waiting list for. So my symptoms started probably when I was in my teens. I started my period when I was 15. I always had really heavy, painful periods. I got put on the pill when I was 16 because I had really bad acne, and it did really help. Now at that time I literally had no idea about like the female body, the female body, the reproductive system. I knew that, the basics. I knew you had ovaries, I knew you ovulated. In fact, I don't even think I did know that you ovulated. I just knew you would have a period, you needed to protect yourself with birth control if you wanted to have sex. And I didn't really know about the cycle, and I certainly didn't know about endometriosis. So I stayed on the pill for about, I want to say about 10 years. And in that time I had boyfriends, I was single a lot of the time, and I just kept on it because when I had my withdrawal bleed, I used to really suffer. And I thought, you know what, I like the control. I like knowing when I've got my period, when I don't. I can manipulate my body because I can put packets of pill back to back safely. And I did that, and I would sometimes only have three or four bleeds a year, because the doctor said it was okay for me to have 3 packets together, have a bleed, 3 packets together, have a bleed. And so I was suffering with these pains, but not to the point where it was debilitating. But always had a bloated belly, always suffered with IBS from probably being in my early 20s. Always really felt a lot going on down there, but just accepted that it was what it was. Like, sometimes you just like, it's just me. So when I was 26, I come off the pill. I went I just went completely natural, and I started researching natural cycles, which you know I use. But I was single, and I thought, you know what, whatever. I'm very happy being single. Really spent a lot of my 20s kind of working out who I was, what I wanted, just the kind of things that I would look for in a man, in a relationship. And I was happy just being on my own. So really contraception wasn't in my thought process, and also I started to get to the point where I was a bit like, why should I take responsibility for that? Why can't men as well? So that's another topic, but we'll maybe talk about that at some point, who knows. So what I realised was I got my period back straight away, brilliant. Got horrendous adult acne. I'll see if I can insert some pictures if I've still got them on my phone. I got 9 cysts in my boob, and when I got them checked, obviously that was a huge scare when I got them checked, because they only appeared like months after I come off the pill. They believed that it was like a withdrawal of all the hormones, and my body just went wild. So all the acne for 2 years, the lumps in my boobs, all of that kind of stuff. The lumps are fine, they're still there, but I've had them checked twice and they're absolutely fine. But I was just like, do you know what is this stuff doing to my body? But with that, my period and my cramps just started to come back with a vengeance. And over those, I'm now 32 and I come off the pill 6 years ago-ish, they've just got worse and worse and worse. And if you're watching this and you've got endometriosis, or if you haven't, you know that one of the things that the doctors always suggest to help, not cure, but help endometriosis is go on the pill. I was always at the doctors about tummy issues, about period issues. They give me tranexamic acid, they give me mefenamic acid. And then I had a gastroscopy and a colonoscopy during COVID because I have such bad cramps, such bad toilet issues, you know, excruciating pains, debilitating pains, which the doctor was classing as IBS. Got tested for different things in my blood, had the colonoscopy and the gastroscopy, come back, everything was fine. So that was during the pandemic, and I was just like, what the hell, like, why am I in so much pain? And every month was coming in, the period pain was coming in thick and fast. And it wasn't until I kind of spoke about it around 2-3 years ago on Instagram, and you guys actually said it sounds like endometriosis, and I was like, no. When I looked into the word, I hadn't really heard it and took it seriously. I had kind of heard it in passing maybe a few times in my life, but never had I heard the word properly and took it seriously. So I looked into it and I was like, oh god, a lot of my symptoms are fitting the bill. So after I had my investigation with the gastroscopy and the colonoscopy, I had another appointment over the phone with the doctor during the pandemic, and she was like, you're at an age where, you know, you might be thinking about a family and stuff like that, but the best thing to do, because it does sound like you've got endometriosis, is speak to our gynae lead and we'll see what she suggests. So I was like, absolutely fine. So I got a phone call off the gynae lead from my GP, and she was like, how old are you, and, you know, like, what's your intentions? And I was like, well, I'm 31, or was I 32 then? I think I was 30. I think I was 31. And she's like, it does sound like suspected endometriosis, but the only way we can diagnose endometriosis is through a laparoscopy. Is that how you say it? Laparoscopy? Laparoscopy? Right, whatever. We can't pronounce it, we just accept it. So in the thought of surgery, I was like, oh, no. But she was like, to be honest, the waiting list is 6 to 9 months long. You know, if you're looking to have a family, it's up to you, but really we would just want to put you on the pill. So she prescribed me the pill, but I didn't want to take it. So I went and got it, but I didn't want to take it. So I didn't take it. So my symptoms, they just got worse, they got worse, and I knew something wasn't right. So in May last year, we moved to Manchester, and my symptoms just weren't getting better. Every month I was getting so anxious, so worried. I was getting a lot of lower back pain every time I ate. You know, it wasn't just gluten anymore. It was like if I was eating something spicy, or if I was eating dairy, or just anything was just setting my tummy off. And then I was having 2 weeks of pain. I would have at least 2 or 3 days of absolute agony and pain with no bleeding, horrendous back pain, such an overwhelming sense of nausea, and then I would come on, it would be very minor, it would never be much blood. The first day of that would be horrendous, and then normally in the past I would have maybe another few days of just bits and pieces and I'd go back to being fine. But in the past 2 years, No, in fact, for the past solid year, I'd finish the bleeding and I would go into like another stage of just pressure, uncomfortableness, pressure, pushing down on my bladder. So to the point where I would literally have a wee, come out, think I need to go back to the toilet. That was really hard because like me and Connor living in Manchester, we're back and forth to Newcastle, we're back and forth to Wales, back and forth to London. Would literally be in the car and I'd be like panicking, like we need to stop, we need to stop, we need to stop, because I would get that feeling. And I can only imagine it's what you feel like when you're 9 months pregnant. I'd literally be running to the toilet and I'd be thinking there's something not right here. And then the back end of last year, I can remember I'd been out with my friend Kaylee on the night before, went to Peter Street Kitchen in Manchester. It was so nice. Next day we were meant to be coming to Newcastle to go to an event. It was a work event. Oh, it actually gives me such a feeling of anxiety, like when I think about it. And I got the most excruciating pain in my left side, right down where my ovary is, and it just felt like a pressure point of this. And there was loads of growling and there was loads of popping noises and like movement, and I basically sat on the toilet for about 5 hours, that way and this way. I was being sick, I was in agony, I was riling round, I was excruciated, and my GP was still in Newcastle, so we ended up coming up late for the event. I was in agony, I was literally on my knees, and after taking so much Buscopan, after taking so much paracetamol, I couldn't keep anything down. We managed to get there. I don't know how I managed to get there, it was some sort of miracle, but I had literally spent like maybe 5 to 6 hours sitting on the toilet consistently. Oh, literally it gives us like a sore tummy thinking about it. Like I get like a nervous belly because it was horrendous. So at that point I rung the doctors on the Monday, and the Dr. Grant, she was great. She was like, come in, I'm going to check your tummy. She was just like a GE doctor, check my tummy. She's like, I'm going to book you in for an ultrasound. She realised that I had had a gastroscopy and a colonoscopy the year before. I had had an ultrasound 3 years ago, but she said things can change. I was like, right, okay, fine, not a problem. In between all this, we got bloods done, and she was like, I'll check the bloods as well. My bloods come back as having an underactive thyroid. So that contributed to why I was absolutely, well, if you've got endometriosis, you know that fatigue is huge and it can make you depressed, and it's just very trying on your mental health. So not only did I have suspected endometriosis, which I wasn't focused on at that point, I just thought it was my IBS, but then I had this underactive thyroid that had just appeared, which it's an autoimmune disease, and apparently my immune system attacked itself. Lush, thanks for that. So I have this underactive thyroid, explains why I've been really tired, really down, quite depressed, not very me, and just feeling really low, and being stuck in Manchester, away from my family, away from my friends, no support network, unwell, just really feeling crap. It made sense. So the bloods come back, and she tested me for this indicator, which was, I want to say it was like CT125 or something like that. So it's a blood you take, but you shouldn't really take it under the age of 45 because there's so many changes happening in your body up until that point. But she wanted to take it to understand what was going on. So that was raised, and I eventually got in for my ultrasound. I think she took, the bloods she took around the same time I got in for my ultrasound, and my ultrasound wasn't taken until around my birthday in January because they just didn't put it through. So after my birthday in January, I was in Newcastle, I went to get my ultrasound. They couldn't see my left ovary, so they had to do an internal ultrasound, and they still couldn't see my left ovary. And in the past when I've had ultrasounds, they've been like, yeah, everything's fine, we'll let the doctor know, and they kind of weren't, and they were like rooting around, and I was like, is everything okay? They're like, well, the doctor will be in touch. So I was just really upset because I was like really worried and thinking, what is it? So that, coupled with the blood test that was abnormal, they pushed me through a 2-week cancer pathway in the gynecology department. So in I went, I had an appointment literally the week after, and they were like, it's definitely going to be endometriosis, like we're pretty certain, but we need to get you in for an MRI. ASAP, and I was like, oh my god, like my worry was just through the roof. There's nothing more that an ultrasound's going to show. We can't really see endometriosis with an ultrasound. The best we can do without operating is an MRI. So then I went on and had the next week 2 MRIs because they messed the first one up. So I was back and forwards to Newcastle, drained, worried, you think the worst, lots of tears, not really understanding what everything meant. What does it mean for me? What does it mean for my health? What does it mean for my reproductive life? What's the future going to look like? I was just relieved when they said that it wasn't the dreaded you know what, but still endometriosis needs to be taken seriously, because some people will go, oh, you know, yeah, it's just endometriosis. No, it's not just endometriosis. People don't actually realise what endometriosis is and the effects that it can have and the devastating effects it can have, and also the amount of people, the amount of women who are suffering and have had 10 plus surgeries, are now having to have hysterectomies, are not being treated the way they need to be treated. It's just not okay. Rant over. I'm just so protective of my endo warriors. So we get the results back, and it was a long, onerous process. I kind of wasn't put on the right list. This was like early February. I wasn't put on the right list. They thought I had said that I didn't want surgery. I had said I wanted surgery. So I didn't get the results. Then my consultant rung me when I was in London in April, and he left me a voicemail, but I couldn't get back in touch with him. Now I know why. It's because he's so popular, he's so great, he's really, really good at what he does. And I was just like, right, what are the results and what can I know? So I ended up getting the results off my consultant secretary, and she basically said, you've got, what we can see is a little bit of endometriosis present. So I did get a letter from the hospital which kind of said that I had, I'll get it. And you can tell me what you think of this, because you know when you're sat waiting for something and you're like, what the hell does that mean? Right, so sorry, that took a while. So received the letter, when was it? 4th of May. So I went for my MRI the start of March, received this letter 4th of May, blah blah blah. I've called this lovely, pleasant young lady, and yeah, it was CA125 levels. So Beth was referred with painful heavy periods and raised CA125. The latter value went down in February, which is reassuring. Her pelvic MRI scan revealed endometriosis with the small nodule 2.7 centimeters at the utero-vesicle fold, the left ovary adherent approximate sigmoid colon with possible also endo. And then it said, I understand Beth's not keen on surgery, however I will have arranged for her to have a face-to-face appointment and further management depending on her symptoms. So I was like, oh hell no. So then I was like in a like, as if it's not stressful enough, but then I was like back and forwards ringing the hospital secretary, and I was like, please can you put me on the list for surgery? Like, I thought I was getting put on it back in February when I first met with the registrar. So anyways, long story short, I eventually got to speak to my consultant, who is also the surgeon, in I think it was the end of June, and he was so lovely, so apologetic, and he was literally so like just upset that I had been put on the wrong list, and so he asked me if I could come in July. Of course, obviously I've had my surgery, you have all followed along, and if you haven't, you can find all my highlights on Instagram. My posts and my highlights are there, so you can kind of see it real time, and see everything that I went through. That's a bit of a backstory about my story. That was the first time I had been told I have endometriosis confirmed. Like I said, my surgeon, Mr. Chalub, he's amazing, and he was just so adamant to fit me in. My surgery was actually filmed. He asked me if that would be okay, if they could film my surgery, and I said absolutely. I'm not bothered as long as I just get in for the surgery. And yeah, so it's been filmed, so I'll let you know when that's going to be shown on TV. I don't know if I'll be able to watch it, but yeah, so that's my story before that. So I've probably had it for 10 plus years, but only been taken seriously about it for the last year. The surgery itself, so I feel like that goes through my symptoms. I hope that answers your questions about my symptoms, the length of time it took for me to get taken seriously, how long it took for me to get my surgery date, bearing in mind I had a little bit of crossover and there was a few problems. Oh, there's someone knocking on the door. I am back after half an hour. Not okay. Connor's gym stuff got delivered and I'm talking about huge equipment, and it was just chaos because he wasn't in. So where was I? Because I feel like I've lost me creative flow. I have to look at my list. So yeah, I think it was about, I've covered symptoms, I've covered how long until I got a diagnosis, and then surgery date. I don't know whether, because my preferences weren't recorded in the right way, I don't know whether if they had have put me down for wanting surgery, whether it would have been sooner or whether it would have been later than I got it. I'm not really sure what the waiting list was like, but when I spoke to Mr. Chalou, he was adamant to get me in just because I had been messed about a little bit, but also because he wanted to record my surgery and I gave him permission for that. Because I know there was a lot of questions about being taken seriously, getting your surgery date, and in regards to kind of going to the doctors, just be persistent. GPs, sadly, most GPs do not have the knowledge and the expertise that is that's needed to kind of advise on endometriosis, or maybe they just don't understand it as much as like gynecologists do. Keep persevering, because at the end of the day, you know your body more than anybody, and maybe you need to see a different doctor. It just turns out, and it's lucky that the doctor I spoke to, who was the like duty doctor, who was doing like the call outs like on last minute appointments on the Monday, she took me seriously and wanted to be very thorough and get all the investigations done. So it is a mixture of persistence, patience and luck, sadly. So the surgery itself, I know I've spoke a little bit about the surgery. Now I'm really conscious this is going to be a long video, but I'm assuming if you're here you want to know all the details. I don't want to cut any corners, but I've never had any surgery before. I have got really bad health anxiety. It's not as bad as it was. I do have a therapist. I have therapy every week, and as soon as I got my surgery date, we decided we would do a lot of kind of hypnotherapy and lots of work to make me feel in control of my body, to make me feel like I trust myself, the surgeon, the hospital, and kind of work together to ease my anxiety. So while on one hand I was like, yes, got my surgery date, feel like it's a really pinnacle point in your life to get to that point, get fully diagnosed, hopefully get whatever's there away, and then be able to move on in some way, shape or form. And I felt like my life had been on hold for a good year, not knowing where I'm at, not knowing 100% what the situation is. So I really did feel super excited but also really nervous, and I do think that's normal. So I had a pre-op the week before, had to have an ECG. That went okay. I was very, very calm on the day itself. I was getting recorded, so that helped. It was a distraction. Mum and Connor come in with us and then they had to leave. But I had the camera crew. There was 2 members of the crew, which was really helpful to me because I had took like earphones, I had took a book. If you go on my Instagram, look on my endometriosis highlight and you'll see a highlight of all of the things that I had in my bag, just to make sure that I was comfortable, just to make sure that I was well prepared, and that if I was going to have to stay in, I would have everything that I needed. Bearing in mind, you don't know what your situation's going to be, and when you come out of surgery, sometimes you don't even want to look at anything in your bag, which was what I was like. I then went down to surgery at 1 o'clock, so I went in at 7, I had to wait until 1, I was second on the list, and I was quite calm, and I was quite, I felt like I had it under control. And when I got into the room where you get your anaesthetic, it was nerve-wracking. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna keep it real with you because I would rather know the full picture. And if you're watching this, I'm assuming you would too. But I kind of walk yourself down to surgery. I got on this seat, and this seat was like facing these double doors, which was the theatre, and I felt like I was on a roller coaster. Like, when you're sitting there ready to go through the double doors. And I was like, oh, it was then that the nerves kicked in, because it was the reality of what's going to happen. I've never had anaesthetic before. I don't know what to expect. Am I going to be okay? Am I going to wake up? All of these things. And of course, I think that's natural. Not had an operation before, got health anxiety, it kicked in. One of the nurses, she was more tough love than I would like, and she was like, right, you're really nervous, you need to calm down, I'm gonna be your mum now, what are you nervous about? And I just burst into tears, and I think it was all my emotion just like fizzing over. And she's like, oh my god, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you cry. I was like, no, honestly, it's fine, I've just got really bad health anxiety, like I'm really worried. I've been trying to do all of these different things to work on it, but I am just worried. And my anaesthetist, why can I not pronounce any of these medical terms? She come in, she was such a lovely woman, like about 55, 60, lovely long grey hair, very airy fairy. She was just amazing. She was like, I'm here, and she was so lovely and put me off to sleep. Before I knew it, I was awake. I went into surgery around 1:30 and I woke up in recovery at 5:30. So my operation was around 4 to 4.5 hours, which they said was longer than they had anticipated or expected. And when I come round, I looked down and I noticed that I had a catheter. Instantly I was just like, oh god. I just felt an overwhelming sense of like pressure, and I just wanted to get back to my mum and Connor. So anyways, I had to be there for a while, and then I went back and I was on the bed, and my mum and Connor were either side of me. The camera crew, 2 of the camera crew were there. God knows what that footage is going to look like. And then my doctor was there, Mr. Chalou, and I just burst into tears. I was just so relieved that I had got through it. I was proud of myself. I was relieved. I was just happy I was alive. I know that sounds really dramatic, but if you have health anxiety, you know it's just very debilitating at times with the thought process. So then Mr. Chalou explained what had happened. I still don't have my discharge letter, which I am trying to get hold of. It would help me be able to explain exactly what I had in more depth. And he told me everything there and then, but I was too woozy and out of it. But then he come back and told me again the next morning, but I still felt a bit out of it. So I want to see it in writing because I'm that kind of person. But basically, I had endometriosis on both kidneys. I had a nodule halfway in my bladder, so it was halfway in and halfway out, hence why I had to have the catheter on in, so that it could let the wound heal, because he needed to go into my bladder. I also had it around my bowel, and I think it was trying to twist my bowel too. And my left ovary was starting to get stuck on my kidney. I think that's right. And basically I was like, what stage is it? And he was like, it's stage 4. So stage 4 is obviously the most severe version or case of endometriosis, and it normally means there's like a large amount of adhesions and cysts present. So yeah, that was what I had. And he was really happy with the results, so happy. He did tell me at the beginning, because they could see a cyst on my bladder in the MRI, that he might open my bladder and have to do that, and I give him permission to do that, of course. But I think it was just so disheartening to feel like I had come through this big, like I've kind of like achieved this, like I've managed to get myself through this, and now I'm stuck with a bloody catheter in. I wanted to go home that night, and they were like, no, you've had way more than we expected you to have, and I think you're underestimating how much you've had, so you can just relax. So to be honest, it was a blessing, because I just went in and out, chilled, got Oromorph. I didn't even want it. I was like, no, I'm fine. But the nurses insisted that I have Oromorph. And the hospital beds are more supportive in general, and I realised that when I come home. So if there is an option of you to stay in or go home, of course home is more comfortable for your mental state. But I was glad I stayed in that first night. Just even the fact that the hospital bed moves and can really support your core, because my core was just out of office. It was just like, no. So I had 4 incisions, and my surgeon uses robotic technology, so it's like a robot does it, which is wild. Don't ask us how that works, but when I can share the details of where the kind of footage is going, you'll be able to actually watch my surgery, which will be pretty cool. So then the next morning I was like, yeah, I definitely want to go, even though I felt so groggy. And the head nurse, she was like, well, you need to get up and we need to get you dressed and we need you to go. I hadn't got off the bed. I hadn't got off the bed at all since I come back from surgery, because why would I? I can just lie there and wet myself. And I got up and I walked to the bathroom and I tried to brush my teeth, and I must have brushed them for 2 seconds. I was like, no, I need to go and lie down. So I had to go back, lie down, and I just spent the day in hospital, and they just suggested I spend another night there, which was definitely for the best. But I was so eager to get home on the Wednesday, and they said they would let me home as long as I could get up and actually brush my teeth. I didn't wash, I didn't go to the toilet, obviously, or for a, just in general. The most I did was wash my face with micellar water, and I got my mum to bring in some baby wipes. I took Femfresh wipes, but I didn't take baby wipes, just to wash my pits, because when I was like, ew, I was gross. My surgery went really, really well, and then staying in the hospital was great. Although the day of my surgery and the day after, the Monday and Tuesday, was that heat wave in England. It was 45 degrees on my ward. My friends were messaging us going, oh, at least you're in an air-conditioned hospital. I was like, no hun, we're not allowed aircon in here. We had a fan blowing hot air on us. Like, it was unbearable. So I don't really feel like that would help your recovery, because you want to kind of be cozy, but you're too hot to be cozy. So I just sat with my knickers on in a little crop top bra, and I just kept the curtain round the majority of the time, because I couldn't really be bothered to interact with anyone. And I'm normally super sociable, but I literally was just so tired. So on the Wednesday, Connor and my mum come to pick us up, and they said I could leave, but I had to go in a wheelchair. And I was like, that sounds really dramatic. And they were like, no, you've had so much done, like you've had so much taken away, and there's been a lot of prodding and poking, so you're going to be very drained for a long time. And they give me Oromorph to come home with, and I can remember the girl next door, she was in for a hysterectomy, bless her, and she was like, am I able to take Oromorph home? They're like, no. And I felt really guilty because everybody was asking for it and I didn't ask for it, and they give me it, and I was thinking, so pain relief, I was able to have paracetamol, ibuprofen and Oromorph. But when I come home, while I was in the hospital, I just had it through the night, because I felt like it was easier to get comfortable after taking that. And when I come home, I only had it once at bedtime the first 2 nights. The most challenging part for me was the catheter, but I want to emphasise that not everybody will end up with a catheter. And Miss Angelupi said, you know, you have to have this catheter on for 2 weeks, make sure that your bladder heals, then you'll need to come in for a cystogram and we'll take it out. So I was like, right, cool. But as the days went on, I went home to my mum's, and me and Connor stayed there, because when you're unwell or when you're recovering, you want your mum, don't you? First few days of recovery, I was literally just sleeping, eating a little bit. I couldn't really move too much. But one thing that did really help was my sister bought my brother like a pregnancy pillow, like a U-shaped pillow, ages ago, and here it is. Ooh. So you sit in that or lie in that bit, and that really, really helped me, because I couldn't have laid flat. So when I got home, what I did was set my bed up, put that in, and it felt more like the supportive hospital bed, but getting up, it was really quite hard. So luckily I had Connor there. I would definitely say you need to be looked after in the first week, if not 2 weeks, because you just, as much as it's keyhole surgery, it looks great. Like, I've still got bruises around those keyholes, so what must the inside look like? And that's what I'm thinking. Like, it just feels like it's so minimal, but the invasion that's happened inside is massive. So yeah, first few days, literally sleep, lots of hydration, make sure you take your medication, and just relax. And I was quite teary the day that I come out on the night time. Connor had to leave me and go on a job to Glasgow, and I was just really feeling it. Make sure you've got a nice tidy room or house before you go into hospital. Get yourself a nice setup for when you come home. Relax, get some nice food ready for yourself. Make sure your bed's super comfortable. Get a pregnancy pillow. Make sure you've got somebody who is willing to look after you for at least a week or 2. My surgeon told me that I should rest for 6 weeks. And and it's going to take 6 weeks to recover. But I'm in week 3 now and I'm starting to feel much better. So everybody's individual. Listen to your body and just take it day by day. I think for me, what delayed my recovery was the fact that I had the catheter in, and I know, you know, it's a reality for a lot of people for different reasons, but I was disappointed because I come out of surgery, I'd achieved this. I think this is what I was saying before and I got distracted, but I achieved something massive for me, and then I come out and I look and I'm like, oh, I'm stuck with this. And it's very mentally challenging. And a lot of you girls on Instagram message me and you were like, I had one after my C-section for a few days, or I had one for this amount of days, or this. And they said it's so mentally challenging. So for 2 weeks, every single time I woke up, my catheter was just on the side of the bed, it was like it come in a little rack. I'll see if I can kind of insert some pictures. You put it on a nighttime stand, and then through the day I would attach it to my leg, and then when I was going in the shower I was giving it to Connor to hold, and then in the end I just kept it on my leg and just changed the straps after the shower. But I just feel like that really mentally was very challenging, and then it started to smell at the end and I didn't feel clean, and I was worried about getting it out and the cystogram. But I still would totally recommend, if you've got one, to still go in the shower every single day. Even though I wasn't going anywhere and I wasn't necessarily putting clothes on, getting up and showering and feeling fresh, or as fresh as you can when you've got a catheter stuck to your leg, and putting fresh PJs on and getting back on your bed is the best thing you can do. I was very mindful of my scars, so I put the shower head really low. I was washing my back and then I would kind of throw the water onto my front. I didn't want it to be too powerful on my tummy because it was so sensitive and so bloated. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, when you come out of surgery you get lots of air and pain in your shoulders, and mine only lasted for about 3 days. Drink lots of peppermint tea, because what it is your tummy gets pumped up so that they can access all of the bits, and the air disperses through your diaphragm and up to your shoulders. And I got lots of shoulder pain, and then it kind of must have been sitting here for a while, and I was getting a lot of pain in this area right here, but that went within the first few days. I'd say the diaphragm pain went within about, I think the shoulder pain went within 3 days, and then the diaphragm followed on. So within 5 days I felt like all the air had dispersed out my body. Definitely try, even if you feel like crap, to shower, wash your face, do your skincare, brush your teeth, have a shower, and just get back into bed nice and fresh and watch old school Kardashians, because that's what I did. I think the last thing that I have to mention is obviously the catheter removal. I had to go in and have a cystogram, coming out of hospital recovering, and then having to go back in, put a gown on. I hate stuff like I hate that. Like, for some people it's not a big deal, but for me it is. Going into x-ray and radiology, lying there, having to have my catheter like kind of pulled and dye pushed into it, which everyone was like, you know, the nurse was like, it's going to be a bit painful, it's going to be a bit painful. I thought, oh, as if I haven't been through enough at this point. But actually, if you do need to have a cystogram, it's not that bad. And what they do is they put the liquid through, so it's like dye, and they fill your bladder up, and then they take a x-ray of it and they look to see if any's dispersing around your body, and if it's not, you can have your catheter out, but if it is, you can't have your catheter out. So the doctor said, like, I don't want you to be disappointed if your wound hasn't healed in your bladder. We'll just have to come back in another few weeks. I thought, please universe, allow me to get this catheter out this day right now. And they were really pleased. They were like, oh, looks like you'll be going up to ward 40 to get your catheter out. I was like, yes. So up I went. I had to drink about 3 jugs of juice. So they took it out, which was weird, and it didn't hurt though. It was okay, because I was really, I work myself up about things like this. I'm like, is it going to hurt? Am I not going to be able to cope with it? And it was fine. And I had to have wheeze, and I had to measure the wheeze, and then the nurses would like measure how much I was weighing and if my bladder was filled or not, and they would dipstick in it and make sure I didn't have any infections, which I did. I had nitrates in my wee. They said that was pretty normal, because when you've got a catheter in, it's a foreign object, you've had the same one in for 2 weeks, can't be helped. So I got antibiotics for that, and then they did like a bladder scan, like an ultrasound on my tummy. So I have 2 of those before I could leave, and then I could leave. So I've just took my last antibiotic today, I have got reflexology and Reiki this afternoon because I am just looking after myself. Trying to be as positive as possible. I will say, since I got the catheter out, my mood has went from about here to here. So anybody who has a permanent catheter, I salute you, and I am sending you so many loving respect vibes, because it's challenging. It's really challenging, and we should appreciate our bodies in all of its functions, because sometimes until things are taken away, we don't actually realise how valuable they are, if that makes sense. Reading, meditating, eating good food, enjoying, having time off content creating, watching films. Some days are better than others. Some days I feel really sick and nauseous. Some days I'm having a little bit of tummy ache. Like, I went for a walk around the Metro Centre the other day with Cotton, and I felt really sick by the end of it, and I had a lot of back pain and tummy pain, and I've not had that. And obviously beforehand that was a frequent thing for me, like the back pain that I used to get when I was on my period. Oh my god, it was horrendous. And I used to be sitting there, and Connor used to be rubbing my back, and I would literally be in tears, rocking back and forward on the toilet, feeling like I was going to be sick, trying to go to the toilet for a number two, couldn't, or did, and it was so erratic. So now I'm hoping that all of those symptoms will be gone. I haven't had a period yet. I was kind of due on around the time that surgery was, so yeah, I haven't had a period yet. I'm really hoping that I'm going to feel the benefit. So far, I have felt more energised. I don't know how or why. Like, I appreciate I'm still recovering. You know, every day is different, and up until like the weekend I was napping every day. But in general, I feel more vibrant, and I'm like, is that because endometriosis really does fatigue you, because it's putting so much pressure on your body and on organs that it shouldn't be? But of course, once I have my next period, we'll see. But I'm just so happy that it's done, and with my results, and that the surgeon was happy. And yeah, I think that's everything. Obviously, when I get my full-on discharge letter, I might include some bits so you know exactly what I had, just in case you want to know if it's like what you had, or if you're going in, you might know what to, you might know what to expect. But when I got like the information off the doctor, it made so much sense. I have problems with my waterway because I'm always at the toilet. I have bowel problems all the time, like going to the toilet. I have loads of pain in my back, so of course it's my kidneys. Do you know what I mean? Like, to the point where I would literally be crying and have a water bottle on the front and the back, and shooting pains down my left leg, because there was so much stuff going on, and there was cysts on the left hand side and stuff like that. So like, my symptoms totally correlated with what was going on the inside. There was no disparity at all. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I'm really hoping when I watch this back that I've included everything. I'm really sorry that it's so long, but I just want to give you every single bit of information I possibly can, so that if you are interested, you do want to know, then it's all here for you. And apologies for all of the noise. I hope it wasn't too distracting. Thank you so much for all of your messages, all of your support, all of your kindness, and all of your good vibes. Those messages and those comments got me through. I'm not joking, they actually got me through. So I appreciate you more than you'll ever know. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again next time.